How are you today?
I am fabulous. Just had
Yeah.
my lovely COVID test, so
Oh, today was your turn?
the randomly selected.
Yeah. Um, is it still the PCR or is it just like the easy one now?
It's the nasal one, but they don't go all the way up.
Right. Yeah. It's the surface one.
Yeah, I was like, why couldn't they do that when I had to get it last time?
Because it's newer. I don't know. It's actually faster too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because I had that done. I think it was 3 weeks ago. I wasn't feeling well, so I went to a clinic and they just did a quick one. They just did like on the surface, which actually felt weirder.
Yeah, it was a little weird because it was like a normal Q-tip.
and it took longer. So I was like,
that's true.
This is not fun. Anyways, thank you for joining me today on Office Hours with Professor Z.
You're very
That would be me, of course. And thank you. I'm here in the studio, as you can see.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely.
So I'm as I told you before, I'm repicking up this series. We didn't do it last semester for obvious reasons. Something weird happened last semester. I don't know. A lot of things were in the way of me doing anything besides surviving.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So now that we all know what Zoom is, it's a lot easier to do this anyways.
It's true.
So how's your semester been going?
Good. Very busy.
Yes. So here, I'm gonna start off with this. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did.
Okay.
Why don't you introduce yourself, say who you are and what you do?
What I do? Okay. I'm Shannon Szenfinski. I am the managing editor for editorial for the Spectrum newspaper. I am a senior producer for The Pulse. I am a classroom learning assistant for digital editing. I think that's it. There's a lot of little things that I do just around whenever someone needs me.
Right. So that's a lot to so you're working with the Spectrum, and have you been doing the Spectrum since you were a freshman?
No, I started last year. The beginning of my junior year I started, and journalism was never even in the realm of possibility of something I wanted to get involved with. Mm-hmm. But the end of my sophomore year, when I was doing CT Sports Now, and that got canceled, I was like, well, what do I do now? I have nothing. And Dan Gardella was on the Spectrum, and he was like, I know this isn't what you want to do, but it's, good experience. And I was kind of open to anything because I just wanted to learn as much as I possibly could and build up my resume. And, I don't know what's going to happen years down the line. I want experience in everything. So I was like, yeah, let's just give it a shot. So I was the assistant features editor I was the assistant perspectives editor when I first came in. I was that for about a month until I got moved over to features, and I was the assistant features editor. And then the second semester, I finally took the class. I took the news writing and reporting class, in addition to being now a co-features editor. So I was doing both simultaneously, which was kind of nice because I already had the experience of being on the board before I became a writer. So I kind of knew the background of it and the behind the scenes. And then this year I became the managing editor for editorial. So now I oversee all of editorial.
So how'd you become an assistant editor before taking the class? You just walked in and you were an assistant.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. But they still had open spots. I guess they had people drop over the summer or something.
Right.
They needed to fill the spots, and they knew I had experience in media, not particularly journalism, but some sort of experience. And I feel like I can pick up on things quite easily and quickly. And, I wasn't going to be the type of person to be like, oh, I'm just going to, wing it. It's I wanted to learn the ropes, and I was dedicated to figuring this out because journalism was something I had never done. And they've had it happen before. Dan did it. A few people on our board now haven't taken the class yet. So a lot of people have done it. It's possible.
Well, I think that goes to show that if you show initiative, that you are willing to take on this thing and learn about it, that no matter what it is, that they're just going to say, okay, well, here you go. You're willing to do it, so do it.
Yeah,
Instead
no,
of trying to
exactly.
find somebody. Because I always rather take, whether it's a student or whatever, I rather take someone that's willing just to do it and learn it,
Yeah.
instead of forcing someone to do it. I don't want to have to force people to do something, because then they're not going to enjoy it. What they do is not going to be great.
Yeah.
Um, so it's better to have someone like you that's motivated to do that thing.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna then you get a lot of experience at it. Now you found something you didn't know you wanted to do, and
Exactly.
that you're interested in it. Because I know this is a while ago, but go back to freshman year when you first took me in my class. What was it you said you wanted to do?
I said I wanted to do editing, but I had never done any kind of editing before. But for some reason, I just thought that that was it.
I want to be an editor. What kind of I don't know. I'm just gonna edit.
Yeah.
And now, so what? You're a junior now, right? No, are you a
Senior.
senior? You're a senior. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Does that make you feel old?
Ah, so I will say I remember before, like it was like even before the semester started. I remember you and, oh, I can't think of who. You were walking through the halls with somebody else, and I happened to be walking through, and I was like, "Hey, can I help you out?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm looking for where this classroom is."
Oh my God, yes.
And I
It
go,
was
"Yeah,
during
it's
pre-fall
yeah,
freshman year.
yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, it's over here." I'm like, "What class are you taking?" And you said what it was. It's like, "Hi, I'm your professor."
I totally forgot about that. Oh my God, that feels like a lifetime ago.
I remember all these things.
I can't believe you remember that. Oh.
Yeah, and then you were Polish, so it stuck out in my head.
Yeah, exactly. We bonded quite easily.
Well, because I looked at, obviously I looked at the roster list beforehand, so I can
Mhm.
say, oh, that's a Polish name right there.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
you said, oh, I'm Shannon. I'm like, oh, you're Shannon in my class.
That's so funny. Oh.
Yeah. So fun fact, I have a strange memory that works really weird. I can
Yeah.
I can remember strange details about things that like go back 30 years.
Really?
Yeah, like just random. Like I remember random events and people and things like that.
That's crazy.
So so certain events always stick out in my head, and I
Yeah.
I, I always remember that. Like I remember the first time I met Danny Ilya, I called him Danielle. So because I was going off a list of names, and when you look real quick, Daniel and Danielle are
Yeah,
basically, they just have two letters flipped.
exactly. I get it.
So I just go Danielle, and big tall Danny in the back, like, I mean Danielle. So and I was like, sorry. And now he's off doing great things too. So man, senior year. Is this how you imagine your senior year to be?
In terms of COVID, absolutely not. Oh,
You didn't
no.
expect to be in a pandemic and
No,
doing
I
half your
actually
stuff from
didn't.
your house.
Yeah. I actually, like, when I was reflecting, I was like, "No, pandemic just didn't cross my mind."
I But how thankful are you that the technology exists today to be able to do the work in the way that we're doing it during this time?
No, absolutely. I didn't really know. So when we found out that we were gonna like be online or be hybrid or whatever, I was like, I don't really know how it's gonna work.
Mhm.
And especially because this is a very hands-on field, it's like you can't be completely remote like an English major can be.
Right.
Um, and everyone's been like very flexible and really fantastic with it all. I know that 2 weeks ago when I was doing my story for the Pulse on how admissions was transitioning and dealing with recruiting students during a pandemic, it wasn't that difficult to be able to get interviews because I feel like a lot more people are more willing to do interviews when it's on Zoom because they don't really have to have a big time gap in their day. They can just stay where they are and do the interview remotely and it's over in 10 minutes. Like it's super easy. And I found that a lot of people are more willing to be interviewed if it's over Zoom rather than in person.
I I can see that. I agree with that. I mean, and and do you think that, well, with that in reflection, like, do you think that's going to change moving, like, a year from now? We'll say, I don't shoot in the future. We have a vaccine and we can go out in public again and have a mask off and actually touch each other. Um, do you think that interviewing is going to change, or do you think that people are we still going to be using Zoom a lot, or are we going to go back to the old way?
I think that COVID has taught us a lot, and we've had to like learn to adapt to a lot of things. And yeah, some things are going to go back to normal, but there are going to be some things that people are like, hey, like that kind of worked better actually. So I think it's in a year in the future, it's kind of going to be a mix. I think people will be really excited to be able to actually interview people in person again, but also it's a nice backup plan. You know, if you have someone who's in a different time zone, maybe, or like they can't carve out a whole day to do something, you know, then that's when Zoom would come into play. I think it will be a good mix, but it's definitely not going to go away, I don't think.
Okay. I mean, I can tell you from my personal experience, just thinking about what we used to do back in the early 2000s in radio. If you were a local person, and it actually was in TV too, we do the same thing. Before all this happened, if you're a local to a radio station, you would drive to that public radio station to be interviewed by someone over in DC. So you have the good audio quality.
Hmm.
But you're right, now that we all have this, and you can, for not that much, buy a nice microphone. Oh, look what I got. I brought my
Ooh.
mic. It might say shoebox on it. I might have taken it home with me back in March. So I had a good microphone at home. But, you know, it's, we can do all these things remotely. And especially if you're just interviewing for newspaper, you don't need to have the audio quality.
No,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
but even for TV or radio, every radio station, I listen to the radio all the time, public radio, and everything they're doing is from their houses now.
Yeah.
It's
Because it
because
can be like it's
right.
so much easier to just do that if you need something in a pinch, you know?
Yeah, and I can tell you from my experience on teaching end of it, um, there's definitely been classes where I thought, well, one, I've been flip flopping back and forth each week whether we're going to be in person or online, because some things you have to be, like, okay, we're going to learn about the cameras today. That's kind of hands on. You kind
Yeah.
of need a camera in your hand to do the things. I can't just talk about it. You need to have it. Which is weird because I had to like wipe them down with the wipes, then hand them out. Like, I don't know. And I'm going around, wiping my hands before I touch someone's stuff. And so it was a different world doing that. But then my my podcasting class this past week, we were just doing script reviews. So I was like, instead of meeting in person, we can just all meet online and we can share this, one-on-one, share the screen and look at your script, because we don't need to do that in person. We don't need to have 12 people in a room waiting one at a time to come up and look at your script, because there's just no need for that. So it frees up everyone's day. You don't have to leave your house. I do have a number of students that are in quarantine, so they couldn't come anyways.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was too, the first week, like when that Bridgeport thing happened and everyone was locked down, I had like a number of students that were in quarantine. And I was like, you know what? This class, we don't need to be in person, because we're just going to talk. I'm going to show you how to write a story, and I can do all this on Zoom, and I want to have a conversation. So I think if we're all equal, we're all little squares in the video screen, it's a lot more equal than having like 4 squares up on the screen and then like
Yeah.
6 people's down in the room, which, walking through the building, I walk by one of the buildings, it's another class. It's like a history class or whatever. And you have the grid up on the screen and there's like 10 people up on the screen. There's another 10 in the room. I'm like, I get it's better than not doing it,
Yeah.
but I know it's not the same.
No, of course not. Of course it's not.
I mean, have you had classes like that where you have people split?
Yeah, we've had it every week for the Pulse. You know, each week there's been like a new person in quarantine. And so that's just kind of how we do it. And I mean, it works out well. I mean, I haven't been like on Zoom, so I don't know how it is from that end. But I feel like for that class, you really do kind of miss out on stuff if you're up on the screen, because where like last class yesterday, we were critiquing our show from the week before, and it was like, the quality of the screen sharing with the video and the start and stop of like picking it out piece by piece, you kind of like just kind of miss that. And it's not, I don't know, it's not the same kind of vibe, for lack of a
Right.
better term. And I kind of experienced that last semester when I was in Professor Russo's broadcast news production, and we were forced to go online.
Right.
And we had to, screen everyone's final projects on WebEx. And, there's like a level of disconnect, but
Mm-hmm.
we made the most of it and it was still fabulous. But yeah, I think that it also brings people closer together too, because I think if you're in a typical class, you could go an entire class without talking to someone. But if you're like on Zoom, it's like you're missing out on stuff. So you reach out to people, and it's weird how it brings you together, even though you're separated. If that makes sense.
No, it does. Again, from the teacher's perspective, I enjoy it too because, um, truth be told, I have a hard time remembering names initially. Like,
I remember that. I remember that.
I could have, you have 12, 15 people in the class, especially with the production class where you only meet once a week.
Yeah.
It's hard to retain that information. It's like if we met every day, boom, I would be done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's once a week, the retention is hard for that. And I also have always had this, especially with intro to production. When I'm looking at projects, a lot of people use each other in their projects. So if I'm looking at a video and, you made the video, but, Dan is in the video, like my brain association is that this is Dan's video
Yeah.
because that's who I'm seeing in the video, even though
No,
it's
that makes
your
sense.
video. So it makes it even harder in that class just to get the recognition of who's who. Within Zoom, I have everyone's name up on the screen so I can see it, and then I can easily just call people out and be like, "Hey, Brian, I haven't heard from you in a while," and then I get them to chime in because then I can keep track of it easier. Versus in the classroom, like, I think his name is Brian.
And
Or
then
is
you have
it
the mask too,
or
which
is it Brendan? And yeah, and then people are talking. I can't tell who's talking because
yeah,
if you can't see the mask moving, it's like, who's
like this is awkward.
um, and it depends on the class. It's like this year, my 102. There's only three guys in the class, and and one of them's online, so I know who that is. And then the two that are in class, like I just like their names to me, like they stick out in my head more.
Mhm.
So like it was easy. But then like, when you have, again, you're wearing masks, so you kind of have like a face blindness, so the details of like trying to pick up someone's face are a little there. And when you have basically three blonde girls that are all in like super, it's like, okay, y'all mostly look the same. There's a little, thankfully you kind of sit in the same spot all the time, that
Yeah.
helps. But it's like, okay, you always sit there, but at the same time, we've only been in the physical class 3 times and it's October, and you all have the same blonde hair. It's like even the same haircut. I mean, I'll go back to like whatever. It was Natalie's class. It was like there was a Lauren, a Laura, and then a Lori. And I was like,
That was horrible.
I'm like, no, guys, this is not. And they were all like in a cluster in the same
Yeah, of course
area
they
in
were.
the classroom. So it's like, you all have the same name, or the close to the same name, and you're in the same area. And I need to remember. It's like, oh, I actually stole one of Russo's idea one year. It's like, because Russo does is on the new Blackboard doesn't have it right now, but the old Blackboard had the photo roster.
Yes, he did that all the
So
time.
you cut out the pictures and you put the names next to it. It helps. Let me tell you, especially when you only see people once a week, because then you can just have it up. And I'll be honest, used to do that while teaching. Like if I was like in the middle of a break or something, I would just pick up the photo roster and like have it open on a tab.
Yeah, like slyly look at it.
So if my screen wasn't being shared, I could look it up like, okay, no, that is definitely okay. Yes. Problem is the pictures also don't always match. It's especially now because you can, as an incoming student, like you can like send in the picture that you want to be on
Yeah,
your
that's what I
ID.
did. Yeah.
Right. So some people have like these like glamour shots from like their yearbook and stuff
Yeah.
that don't look like what they look like. And it's not like it's it's just like you don't, when you're just here with your glasses and stuff, that's not what you look like there. So there's
Yeah. Like
now
the
you
full
just make
makeup
it
and then, like
harder.
the Monday at 8 a.m. Like
Right.
two
Here's your
different
full
people.
makeup with your hair done and this, or the guy with the haircut and like it's their football picture or whatever. And then there's like, yeah, 8 a.m. I'm like, no, this is not the same
Like
person.
two different people.
Where's your SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas? Because that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I had a, well, yeah, I finally updated my own photo, I think, to Blackboard. There's a photo Greg took, but I look the same. It's just different glasses.
Changing it up.
In a different shirt. Well, it's fine for the longest time until I got my current ID, which was a couple years ago because I think I lost an ID or just was. Oh no, we had to get new IDs because they had the chips in them, like 5 years ago, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Up until that time, because I just had my ID the same ID basically that I've had since 2000. So
That's a long time ago.
so I was in undergrad. Although it said faculty staff on it because I was working at the radio station, so it was a staff ID. So I had this same ID and the same picture the entire time, and that also ended up being in the Outlook system in the Blackboard.
Mm-hmm.
So students, when I sent out an email, they would see the picture of me with like long hair,
Different person.
like because I had the hair down to like my cheeks at that time, I think. Oh, Shannon, my hair used to come down to my shoulders. I used to have
Was
hair.
it like
Okay,
straight? Was it
straight.
That's so funny. I can't picture that at all.
I had straight hair. There's only one picture of my hair at its longest, and it was one that my orthodontist took.
I remember when the orthodontist would take your picture.
Yeah, because they take the picture before you get your braces on.
Yeah.
And so that was like, and I shaved my head off like 2 weeks after that picture was taken. So like my longest hair came down to my shoulder, and like the day I could get into ponytail, the next day I shaved it off.
Oh
I don't know why. I just was like, it was high school. What's the drastic thing?
It.
But I also used to like, it was the 90s. So we used to like shave underneath the hair and like let it come down over the top. It was a skater. It was called the skater cut.
I just remember over the summer when we would have the Spectrum Zooms and you had hair. It was just the freakiest thing ever.
Well, I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Once we all got locked down, it was March. I was like, I'm just going to stop. Because at the time, like I was going to grow a beard. But then my wife brought up the point. It's like, well, we don't, that's like a catcher for things.
Yeah.
And like early on when we didn't know a lot, she's like, I'd rather you not do that. So I was like, okay, good point. I'll shave my beard off. But then I'm going to let my hair grow then instead. Yeah, so I let the hair grow. And then I cut it a week before school started.
That was just the weirdest thing ever to see.
Yeah. I mean, it was different. It was weird. And it's funny because like we've only lived on this block for a year now where we live. So, over the summer we start, we obviously start talking to neighbors more and all that stuff. So like, they don't know me. They don't know that I always had like a shaved head for 5 years. So like they see me there, they just think it's natural. And they all have shaved heads too, because we're all the same. We don't have hair club. So.
Oh, adorable.
It's a thing. It's called male pattern baldness. It happens.
It's a serious condition.
I'm not going to cut my child's hair until I have to because I'm jealous and I want him to have long hair forever.
Let him bask in the glory of it.
He's got curly hair and it shakes around.
So luscious.
My oldest son, I gave him a mohawk. He wanted a mohawk, so I gave him a mohawk.
That's really cute.
I need to touch it up though. We haven't cut it in like a month, so we gotta get the clippers out again.
Gotta trim it, make it good.
My wife's like, you know how to do this? I'm like, trust me, I got this. We used to, back in high school, we just cut each other's hair. I got this. All it is shaving underneath and just make sure you don't touch the top. It's not hard. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, you have to live vicariously through his hair.
Yeah, exactly. He has hair. I'm gonna enjoy my child's hair, both of them, as long as they have it. Because like, guys, this is your future. Sorry.
Appreciate it while you have it.
Exactly. If you want diet colors. I don't care. Enjoy the time while you have it. You have light hair, so you can dye it. I had a hard time dyeing my hair. It was too dark.
Dark, yeah.
Yeah, I bleached it once. It messed up a lot. Because my roommate wasn't good at spotting where it was thin and where it was thick, the bleach. And he's like, oh yeah, it looks good. Because I did it myself. And then like I had parts of my hair that were white and parts that were orange.
Oh god. And was it still like really long too?
No, it was shorter at the time because it was after college. And it was just like I had hair, but I like bleached it and like the thick parts didn't, they stayed orange, but like the top turned white because it was thinner. So then
like, do that from home. You gotta go to the salon.
Oh, come on. I worked in public radio. I don't got that kind of money. But I'll say after I got like my next haircut though, it looked cool because then I just had frosted tips.
Yeah, there you go. And that was probably the style then too, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like Ben Affleck had frosted tips. Come on.
There you go. You're basically Ben Affleck at that
Oh,
point.
I mean, obviously I'm Batman.
Obviously.
All right. I actually, believe it or not, I wrote up questions
Okay.
because I'm going to, these are gonna be my standard questions that I ask everybody.
Okay.
You ever watch Inside the Actor's Studio?
No.
I see that show ended too long ago. He always used to ask everyone the same questions at the end. Be like, what's your favorite swear word? It was on Showtime. No, that's like, he always had like a stack of cards and like, I'm not going to do that. For the podcast version of this, that was a visual reference. There's a visual joke of me moving blue index cards.
For the viewers at home.
It's great radio. Great radio. And this is a new question. I saw this question actually on Twitter. Okay. And I actually sent, so I'll tell the story afterwards, I guess.
Okay.
What is something that you wish your professors knew about you?
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I would say like I'm a very outgoing, high energy person.
We know that.
Yeah. But I don't always come across like that in the beginning. And especially if it's a professor I don't know. Like you obviously know how I am, and like Professor Russo does. Like I've had him 3 times. But a professor that I haven't had and doesn't know me, like that, it depends on like the energy of the class if that part of me comes out during class. So I think that if they knew it right off the bat, it would be easier for me to just open up and be myself.
Fair. Okay. So far, what is your best memory or of your time at SHU?
There's so many to pick from.
But just pick one that comes to your head right away.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, the best thing was doing the football and basketball broadcast last year. That was really, I would say, the turning point for the technical skills that I gained, the relationships that I made, but also like the confidence in myself. Because after doing the football season in the fall, that's when I applied to, well, I guess technically the application process for the Olympics happened before that, but my later interviews were during that time, and then interviewing for the Maury show. And I just had so much more confidence in what I was saying in interviews because I had the experience to back it up. And I didn't feel like I had to like fake it till I make it anymore. I'm saying these things, but I actually believe them now. I believe that I have that kind of confidence in myself. But then also just the relationships of the people that I met, like whether they were SCM grad students or professors or even other undergrads, just like the confidence that they had in me too. Because I went into doing the football broadcast not really knowing what I was going to be able to do because it was very much of a grad driven thing. And then the first game there was something wrong with the crew list, and like 2 of the grad students were like, oh, Shannon's done camera for Yale football, like she can do it. I'm like, oh my God. But like them having that kind of confidence in me, like increased the confidence that I had in myself. And I was always the type of person that I feel like I always put on a brave face and acted like I was confident, but I wasn't actually confident in what I was doing. But now I am confident in what I'm doing. And I think that was the turning point. And then that just kind of snowballed into everything else that I've been doing.
So you were doing camera for football?
Yeah.
Is that primarily what you did for all the games?
Yeah, I did. For football, I did camera for all of the games, most of the games, I'm pretty sure. Okay. And then basketball, I kind of bounced around because I was like running from the Maury show and doing basketball at the same time. So I would do graphics sometimes. I would just be a fireman. I would kind of just be put wherever they needed me for basketball.
Also utility. Yeah, you got to use a sports term. That's a utility player.
Utility, yeah. And because that was like, I think basketball was like a class for the grad students.
Right.
So for like me and like Lauren McNair, who was still an undergrad, they kind of just like threw us in where they needed someone at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
But we were just always, even there was times when I would just sit there and they wouldn't end up needing me for anything, but I would just sit in the control room and like take it all in. I'd be like on master control with SNY, which was like the scariest thing ever.
But
But
after you
yeah,
do, it's not that scary at all.
yeah, no, after the fact, it wasn't. But before, I was like, oh, okay, everyone's listening to me. Got it.
Live TV is the most, well, live broadcasting is always it's the pinnacle.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It is definitely an adrenaline rush, and then a big sigh after it's over.
Yes, you're like this the whole time. You're like, and then you can like let it go after.
We used to, like, when we first did the football games, I don't know how many years ago now. I'm like losing track of time, but like it was a lot of for a lot of people, it was their first time doing a production like that. And like, look, during a live broadcast, it's emotional. There's a lot of things going on. You might get heated. People yell at each other. Do not take anything personal.
No, exactly.
Because it's not that you should be yelling, but like if you're trying to figure something out, you can't figure it out. It gets frustrating. I've been there.
No, exactly. And that has happened multiple times.
Yeah. Yes.
You just gotta let it brush off your shoulders. And I think that that's also what I learned is like you can't take yourself too seriously.
No.
And you kind of have to keep your bubbly personality, and tensions will be high, but you just have to kind of roll with the punches and not let it affect you too much.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen seasoned professionals walk out of the control room very upset.
Yeah, it happens.
And then afterwards they're fine with everybody. It's just like at that moment they get upset about it and they need to
Yeah.
walk away. And they know when it's like, okay, now I just need to walk away or whatever. But I'm glad you had that experience, and that's not to promote Sacred Heart University or anything, but it is honestly, it's one of the things we pride ourselves about with the program is that we offer these opportunities for the students to be able to, we call ourselves, we're not a theoretical program, we're a practical program. Yeah, you learn theory, but you also, we're not just, hey, we're going to record a football game. No, we're broadcasting on a SNY, this is like a real broadcast that is being seen by real people. It's not even, even before when we were streaming, like, well, this is going on the conference website. Now we're like on a network, so what we do is real.
Yeah.
Even on the other side, we last year we hosted the presidential Democratic debates and broadcast that for the state. It's like, that's a real thing
it's
that we've
real.
done.
Yeah.
So, and we give this in students that are doing it. Yeah, there's faculty, there's myself, we're there to help and make sure it works, but it can't happen without the students.
And I always because I'm a tour guide also. So
of course you are. Why not?
I always say that on all of my tours, whether students want to be communications majors or not, but just the fact that we're getting real life experience when you're still like a junior in college, not everyone can say that. And it's amazing that we have that.
Right. And those people that like yourself that are so self-motivated and are passionate about the thing, those are the ones that when they graduate, I've seen them go off and get jobs right away in places they want to be, at ESPN, at NBC Sports and things like that, because we've already instilled the basic skill set, and then your passion takes you that next step.
Yeah.
So and that's really what we're trying to instill. It's like, okay, we give you all the tools you can, but you still, at the end of the day, if a student doesn't have the passion for it, there's not much
You
else
can't
beyond
teach passion.
it. Can't teach passion. You got to find out what you're passionate for. Like you said, and this is something I always tell people. It's okay. You might know what you want to do now. It might not be what you do later.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I've changed careers multiple times. I mean, it's always around the same orbit, but it's different roles, and it's fine because as you learn, you find you like to do different things, and maybe you don't want to just sit in a room editing all day. Because
I never thought I wanted to do sports until I did CT Sports Now, and now look at me, it's what I want to do. So
You never wanted to be in a newspaper. Now you're in a newspaper.
Exactly.
All right. Oh, question 3. Hold on. I got more. Of course, I made this. It's on like my sticky notepad on the computer, which is small font, and I'm like squinting so far away. What will you miss most when you leave SHU?
Well, not letting myself leave just yet because I'm gonna go to grad school.
Oh, okay.
But it's different. It's still different. I'm definitely just gonna miss the relationships. That's the biggest thing. Is you can come here and you can do a job and you can go to class and do all the extracurriculars, but if it's the meaningful relationships that you make like through those long hours working on projects and broadcasts, is that's the best part. And that's something that I think you wouldn't really get the exact same experience if you went to a different school, because everyone at Sacred Heart is very much collaborative and they want to help people. They want to see people get better. And everyone is so motivated in this program. And having people with goals and motivations, it makes you want to be better. And you see someone doing something and it's not a lot of times it's like, oh, it's a me versus you or I'm better than you. It's like, well, what can I do to help you to get to where you want to be? And I think that that is what is so unique to Sacred Heart and this program and the people who are a part of this program, because every single experience I've had in a class where it's like a group project or a broadcast or CT Sports Now, like everyone has that same mentality. And sometimes it's like you'll get a few that are like, whatever, I don't care about this, whatever. But I have not come across that. And that is what is so special and what you might not find when you go out into the working field. And that's just, it makes my heart so happy that like everyone here is like that.
Well, I think you don't come across it because I think those people weed themselves out.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because it's like magnets. You end up being attracted towards like-minded people.
Yeah.
So, we have 300 some odd undergrads in the program, whatever, but you don't see them all. You're because of the production classes you're taking. The same kind of people want to take those classes, and you end up collaborating with them. So if you're doing the sports stuff, like people that are doing the sports want to do the sports. You're not going to get someone to show up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday to do a football game unless they want to do it. I mean, sometimes we've had people begrudgingly, but I'm like, yeah, it's a 1:00 game. What time's call? 6 a.m. Huh? Like, I always say, like, I rather when I was part of the, now that I've stepped away, I don't have to be there because everything's working so well now, because I fixed everything. But when I was, it was my class at one time, and I always like to say that, like, on a live production, I'd rather have an hour where I'm bored before the production starts than running around the entire time. Because if I don't have that time where I get bored, then I get worried.
No, yeah, of course. You need that peace of mind.
Oh, I've definitely run around last minute right before the broadcast is supposed to go live, trying to fix that one last cable. Yeah. and then doing it while it's live too. That's a whole other story.
Then the stress is all the way up here and
we lost the stream. Why do you mean we lost the stream?
Yeah.
Anyways, well, now that's I'm not gonna go. That's a whole nother episode. What advice can you give an incoming freshman?
Definitely just immerse yourself immediately. It might not be take advantage of every single opportunity, because like me, I took advantage of so many opportunities, things that I didn't think I wanted to do, and every single one of those led me exactly where I am. And like I came in and I was a TV film major and I did dance and choir. And now I don't do dance, I don't do choir, and I added a sports media major. So like things change. And I think that being open to that change is the best thing for you, because that's when you really find out what you like and what you don't like. And it's also okay to completely change what you want to do and not go down the path that you intended to go down when you came in freshman year. Because if I did that and I kept myself in a box, I'd be missing out on so much. And not just like experiences that are going to lead me to my future career, but also just people and finding out more about myself and becoming more confident, like I said earlier, in myself. So just having such an open mind and not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone. When I was in high school, I was the epitome of in my comfort zone. I was the least independent person I knew. And I like couldn't go walk down to the main office without my friend. But now it's like I don't even know who that person was anymore. And I think that when I came to college and I was like, okay, like I have to have an open mind. Like this is where it happens. And once you have that mentality, that's when everything starts to open up. So just the short answer, just be open-minded and be welcoming to change.
That was a good short answer at the end of the long answer. I'm like processing everything you just said still. Talked about high school. I'm like thinking about high school. I'm like, oh my God, high school.
A blast from the past.
It was so long ago. Oh, high school.
It feels like a lifetime ago. I'm sure that's for you.
I don't want to talk about it. No, that was good. That was good advice. All right. This is my last of my prepared questions.
Okay.
If there was one thing you could change about your time at SHU, what would it be and why?
That is really hard.
Hey, I say the hardest one for last.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, like I wouldn't change anything because I completely believe that everything happens for a reason and everything happens in the timing that it's supposed to happen. And yeah, maybe I could have done without dance for 2 years because it prevented me from doing other things within my major. But I think that time, even that, like that timing just worked out perfectly because when I left high school, I wasn't ready to be done dancing. So I had to carry that over. But it wasn't supposed to last all 4 years. And everything happened the way it was supposed to when I was ready, whether I knew it or not, that I was ready for it. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I can think of that would be like, I wish I hadn't done this or I wish I had done this. Because I think at this point, looking back now, being a senior, looking back on freshman year, I'm a completely different person and I'm doing completely different things, but everything I did had to happen or else I would not have been where I am at all.
Excellent. Hey, the question did say if there is one.
Yeah, there you go.
See, I worded it properly because I was like, it doesn't mean there is a thing.
Yeah.
Because and I agree with you. The fact that everything happened, you are who you are because of what happened to you.
Exactly.
If you change one thing, are you the same person?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always say, yeah, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that. But at the end of the day, you did those things, they happened, and you are where you are now because of what happened.
Yeah.
And as long as you are in a good place, that's good. I mean, obviously, if you were in a bad place, then maybe we should change something.
And something should be adjusted, yes.
So you are going, so you already applied to grad school?
I'm like, the application has not been started, but it's all conceptual right now. I'm like, in the process of like letters of recommendation and building my website and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you're going for the SCM?
Yeah.
So now you're full on sports all of a sudden.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So since we're talking, well, let's finish this out with sports then. Okay, what's your favorite baseball team?
Yankees.
Football team?
Giants.
Hockey?
Devils.
Soccer?
I don't watch soccer.
This is the big three. Basketball?
Nets, just because they used to be New Jersey Nets, Gotta stay loyal.
I mean, I call the Jets a New Jersey team, so I don't know.
Well, Listen, they are. And like the
Thank
Jets
you.
and Giants, they are. Okay. And I get
Well,
why.
the Giants used to play in New York.
Yeah, well now they play in New Jersey. So.
I know. They both play in New Jersey. They are New Jersey? It's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's like the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're the Anaheim Angels. Come on.
Anaheim. Yeah.
They
Exactly.
play in Anaheim, which is an hour drive from Los Angeles. I know, I've
They're not
driven
the
it.
same place.
I've made that drive before. It is not next door. It's not like, oh, here's Los Angeles and there's Anaheim. No. It is a significant distance. It's
Yeah.
like saying, oh, it's like it'd be like having the Yankees play in Hartford.
The New York Yankees. Yes.
Yeah. No, the Hartford Yankees now. It's like, no, this doesn't work. Call yourself the California Angels. Call yourself what? You're not the Los Angeles Angels. It bothers me.
You're getting very heated about it.
Sorry, I just like when it comes to sports, like, because especially when you think about the history of like a lot of the sports, like especially baseball, because it started as club teams, which were very local, very hyper local. So the location in me, I like geography. All right, and I think locations mean something. Like, I had a girlfriend in college who was from Foxborough. She used to tell people she was from Boston. She'd be like, and I go, why would you tell people from Boston? You're from Foxborough. She's like, oh, people don't know where that is. I'm like, the Patriots play in Foxborough. They play at Foxborough Stadium. People know where
Everyone
Foxborough
knows.
is. Like, you're a 30-minute train ride from Boston. You live in Foxborough.
Yeah. That's
Like
my roommate though.
no, you're not even saying we had to drive to get to the train to get to Boston.
Yeah. That's like my roommate she's from Bucks County and she just tells everyone she's from Philly. I'm like, people know what Bucks County is.
And the only thing, and I do it with people from New York too, but I guess people identify with counties in New York, which is weird to me because Connecticut doesn't identify by counties. Like, yeah, we have counties, but all that means is like we divide up the state so we can say county. Like, there's no county sheriff, county police department. Like, that's not a thing in Connecticut where it is. Like in New York, there's a county jail. It's a different kind of system. So people say, oh, I'm from Westchester. I'm like, all right, what town?
See, like, that doesn't work for me because I don't know the towns in Westchester.
Well, I do, just because my wife's family lives in Westchester.
Okay, yeah.
So like, I know the towns in Westchester because I know people from Westchester. So I'm like, that, saying Westchester is like a big area. It's like saying I'm from Long Island. I'm like, okay, which part of Long Island are you from?
Yeah.
Because there's like 3 distinct parts of Long Island, 3 or 4 distinct. 4? 3. I forget now.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, well, you got North Shore, South Shore, East End, West End. It's like, are you like the South Shore? So are you like from the Hamptons? Are you like from the rich part? Are you from the North Shore, which is more working class? Are you from the East End, which is like, whoa, excuse me? Like, the further you out, it's like the bigger the house you have.
That'd be something.
So it's like, where are you from? Where you are in Long Island makes a big difference about how you see the world, and where your socioeconomic status. Not to say that means who you're going to be, but it, I'm trying not to get too deep here now. But it's like, when you say where you're from, it says a lot about you as a person, just because it can and can't say a lot about you as a person, but it does. If I'm from Connecticut, it's different than saying I'm from New York, different than saying I'm from Texas.
It means something. Yeah.
But if I'm from Texas, if you say I'm from Austin, it's different than saying I'm from Corpus Christi.
Yeah. Because
if I'm from Austin, okay, you're into music and you like the bar scene, and you're probably more liberal. If you're from Corpus Christi, you're probably more conservative. Yeah. Because that's just the culture of those towns. And I know people that live in Austin, so I can say that. I have friends that have relocated to Texas.
Remember the Alamo. That's what I always say when someone brings up Texas. Because what if you forget? What if you forget the Alamo?
Oh, what if we forget the time when a ragtag group of American people tried to take back Mexico from the Mexicans? I don't know. That's what bothers me about, like, when I learned history, like the things that I was taught when I was young don't jive with what I know as an adult.
That's true. Yeah.
And also, the Alamo is really tiny.
Is it? Have you been there?
Yes, it's in San Antonio. It's in downtown San Antonio. And my friend lives in San Antonio, so his wedding was down there. So I've been down there a couple times. And it's like literally the Alamo is right across from like a hotel.
That's so weird.
And it's really this little building. It's a tiny little, not even, you can't even call it fort. It's really just like a place where like they live, and it's like that's where Davy Crockett and a couple other people made their last stand against like the Mexican army.
That's just so weird to me that it's like a hotel across the street now.
Yeah, there's like a
I'm
Hilton
still
across
stuck on that.
there's literally the hotel across the street. It's like, I think it's a Hilton,
Oh, very
and
nice.
there's actually a river. So the downtown San Antonio has, they call it's a river walk. So there's a river, and alongside there's a sidewalk on both sides, and bars and shops on both sides, and everything, restaurants. And the hotel that's right along there, so that hotel's there, and there's actually a river, like a tributary to that river that goes underneath the hotel. So it goes through the lobby.
Whoa, that's so cool.
So it starts from outside. So it actually starts from outside, and there's actually there's a little bar outside too. You can stop there, and then it goes into the hotel, and goes through the lobby, and then exits the other side into the Riverwalk.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's if you ever go to San Antonio, definitely, it's obviously the touristy area, but it's cool because it's like I said, you have it's up and down. You just walk along the river, all the restaurants and shops are right there, and you can spend the extra money, stay in that hotel. Don't do what we did and stay in the hotel like a block away, because then you got to walk back and forth, and it's stupid.
You gotta get your steps in, Keith. Come on.
No. Here's the thing about Texas. They don't have trees.
What? Really?
So not like we have in New England. So the first time we went to San Antonio, okay, this is my story of the day, and then we'll close out, because we're getting close to an hour here. So back at my 30th birthday party.
Ooh.
So we're going back 10 years. My friend and I, so back a little further. So I was in a band. And
Way back.
this is not that far. This is like mid 2000s. I was in a band. Our guitar player moved down to Texas with his then fiance, now ex-wife. So now he's down in Texas. So, and then our drummer ended up relocating down to Texas as well, but in Austin, because he was working for the Art Institute of America. He was working at the Boston location, and then they relocated him down to the Austin location. He was an RHD. So like my friend and I, who's the singer and I'm the bass player, we're like, hey, we have an idea. Let's write some new songs, and then we'll go down for the weekend, and then we'll jam and then record them. Mm-hmm. So we spent like 2 months just like writing new songs. So we wrote like 10 or 12 songs. And then my birthday weekend, because my birthday weekend's on Columbus Day weekend, so we usually have an extra day.
It's coming up.
Yeah, what a fraud. So we flew down. So first of all, there was a surprise birthday party at my friend's house the night before we flew out. So we had a birthday party at his house for me, and then the next morning, my wife drove us to the airport, drove us to JFK. And we literally I just brought a backpack. That's all I brought. We were only there for 3 days. I brought a backpack with stuff.
I have to do it.
And we flew down, like, and because like we were just going to use my friend down there. He was in another band, so they had instruments and rehearsal space, so we didn't have to bring anything with us. So we flew down. Where was I going with this story, anyways?
Would not tell you. The trees. The trees.
Yeah, the trees. Oh, there. Thank you. Oh my God. So yeah. So we he was going to drive us and, pick us up to bring us to rehearsal. So we didn't care about rental car or whatever. We just got a hotel close to the airport. So we stayed at like the Holiday Inn Express, because, that you always do better after you stayed at Holiday Inn Express the next day. That's what the commercials say. So we did that. And then like, we were like, okay, one morning, like, oh, let's go to Denny's for breakfast. And we looked at it on the map. Like, this is like early iPhone days. So like, Google Maps wasn't as great as it is now, but I was like, oh yeah, or I was using MapQuest, I think, whatever.
Oh my God, throwback.
Like, yeah, Google Maps didn't exist on the phone yet. It was a MapQuest app that I had downloaded.
That's how we got to all my soccer games, MapQuest. Oh.
So like, oh, there's a Denny's. It's like a mile away. Now, we usually walk the dogs like way more than a mile when we go for a walk. So like, oh, that's not that far. So we walk to it, and then we have our breakfast, and they're like, we're gonna walk back. And now this is why no trees is important, because this is October. It's in Texas. It's still warmer in October in Texas, so it's like in the 80s, high 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
We start walking back, and there's no trees, which means there's no shade the entire way. So like halfway between there, like maybe a mile and a half, whatever. The point is, it's not that far realistically.
Yeah.
But with no trees for shade, you're walking on concrete, so it's reflecting back at you. We're hot now, and like there was a mall halfway between, so we dipped into the mall just to be in the air conditioning.
Air conditioning, yeah.
And like cool off for a minute, and then finish the walk back to the hotel. So that's why get the hotel closest to where you want to be in Texas, because there's
Got it. No trees.
Or you drive, and even though, and like the hotels, even like not all hotels have free parking. So don't think. Yes, I know, right? It's like if you're a lot of times hotels in cities, even if you're staying there, you have to pay extra for parking.
That seems
It's
ridiculous.
true in New York too, because they have limited square footage, so they have limited parking space. So if you're going to bring a car, you usually have to like reserve. Sometimes you have to reserve a spot. Sometimes you have to pay for the parking, whatever it is, because they also have gated parking, so you have to get a pass to get in some places. So
I guess that makes sense.
spend the extra $60 a night. Get the hotel closest to the place where you want to be, so you don't have to get the rental car. You can just take the Uber from the airport to the hotel the one time, and then walk for the rest of the 3 days, and then take it back.
Yeah.
But long story short, yeah, we rehearsed one day for 10 hours. We learned all the songs. We whittled it down to 6 songs. And then we spent a day up in Austin for my birthday. And then we recorded all the 6 songs the next day. And then we flew back.
Wow.
So we rehearsed, recorded a whole album in 3 days.
Good job. Proud of you.
Well, my guitar player, he also has a recording studio, so.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, he was resident in a recording I should say he had a rehearsal space where he was allowed to have his recording stuff in at the time. So we didn't have to pay for all that stuff,
that's nice.
Which is nice. But anyways, that's enough about me. Shannon, I want to say it was so great of you to join me today.
Of course.
It's wonderful to see you go from freshman to now a senior, and then I guess I'll have to see you for another year next year.
Yeah. Sorry.
as a grad student. And it's great to see that you've found this new passion for sports broadcasting. And I really, so you mentioned before that you applied for the Olympics, but obviously that got delayed.
Yes.
So I guess there's nothing really happening with that right now.
Yeah, we're at a standstill right now.
Well, I hope that, I mean, that's a year from now, so you might have a job by then.
Yeah, well, like they said that because they like sent out an email a little bit April when they like decided that they were canceling, and they were like, if you're still interested, like let us know and we'll like be in touch. So.
Okay. I mean, that's also, it's obviously a great opportunity. And it's local, it's right in Stanford, so you don't have to travel. Exactly. Which I think I always tell that story about like, oh yeah, how when you watch Olympics, all the editing gets done here in Connecticut. Like, what? Like, we're not sending everyone over to Japan. It costs too much money.
No, exactly. And they said that their facilities in Tokyo are so small that like most people are going to be in Stanford.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the only thing they put down there are the sets.
Yeah.
And the control room for all that. Everything else, all the editing for the past several, I don't even know how far back it goes, but it's all in Stanford, because why shift your entire work crew there if you don't have to?
Everything's there. Why not use it?
Yeah. But anyways, thank you for joining me. I wish you all the best. It's great to see. I love seeing students, like I said, I love seeing students going from freshman to senior and seeing the progress, because for me, like only teaching intro to production, podcasting, like I don't get students at their pinnacle. I get students at their infancy. Yeah. So it's like, I see like, this is your startings, and it's like, oh, that's good. And then I see what people do like 4 or 5 years when they're in grad school, and it's like, and then see their work. I'm like, wow, that like the transformation is amazing. And I always love seeing that. So, and it's great seeing students take up like leadership roles and really moving forward with what you want to do and finding a passion for it. And I wish you all the best. Obviously I'm going to see you for a while, so it's not like you're disappearing tomorrow.
Yes.
And you have to keep in touch even after you get a job, and
Of course.
you know, don't forget Sacred Heart.
I would never.
This is where it starts.
I would never.
I clearly haven't left, so
Yeah.
that's what Sacred Heart does to people. It pulls them in and doesn't let them go.
True. There's so many alumni that work here. Like, it's true.
It's actually an active mission, I think, of the university to make sure we have alumni working at the university.
Really?
Yeah, because it shows like if you know, if we're educating them, then we should feel confident enough to hire them.
Yeah, of course.
So why wouldn't we have alumni?
Yeah.
But thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
I will let you know when this is being published.
Yes.
It's in 5 minutes. No, definitely not. Not in 5 minutes. I have to go have lunch first.
Of course. Get a meal in you.
Exactly. I'm hungry. Anyways, thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.